Hello, everybody. Hi to all the replay viewers. My name is Quinn, your host of What is Your Self-Love Story? So every single Monday, I've been highlighting a different story, a different person, a different face, a different soul at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And today, I'm interviewing somebody who I went live 2 years ago, exactly around this time, actually. So I'm looking forward to connecting with her again. I met her at a Win with Women event. It is an event that I host once a month in partnership with Feminism, and so if you guys are interested in that, it's a place where like-minded women who can come together and share what they're working on, whether it's a business, passion project, or they just want to be surrounded with women who are positive influences. And that's where I met Leah, and Leah was sharing that she had left a relationship and she's been bettering herself and then going into becoming a coach. So I am actually excited to hear her story again, and for you guys to hear and listen to another story, because I know that for myself, it took myself to feel like soulless, like completely so down, the most down that I've been in my life from a relationship. Why is it always relationships? And then that pushed me to be on the self-love journey. So I'm going to go ahead and say, hi, Brandon. Thank you for joining. And then for if any of you would like to be interviewed, if you've been on your self-love journey and you see how transformative it's been, I would love to highlight you. Hi, Leah. Hi, Leah. Okay. Yes. So it was a laptop issue. So here she is. She's coming. We are reconnecting. Hi!
Yay! Sorry. So sorry about that.
Girl. It is all good, girl. Things happen.
Okay. I look so flushed right now. I just got done working out, but I'm here for it. I'm really high energy right now, which is good.
This is great. And I love it that you were working out, because that's one of my self-love practices, to like create space and really release the shit that, that I'm still healing from childhood and all of that, or from the day. So happy to have you here. You're glowing. This is the real glow. You guys want to know what real glow is? It's the sweat.
That's it really is. Right, it really is. Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to smell the glow, but it looks good on camera.
Okay, well, I'm so happy that you're here. We went live 2 years ago, exactly around like this time. So it's kind of cool that you kind of popped up. I was on Instagram and I was like, wait a minute, like, hello, it's an opportunity for us to like reconnect. And I was kind of rewatching our old one, and we talked about doing another one. So here we are 2 years later. 2 years later.
Full circle. I love it.
Yeah, full circle. So I guess the way that I'm going to give you a moment to like introduce yourself if I missed anything. But for me, knowing you so far, I mean, the time that we connected in the very beginning and meeting you at the Win with Women session, you left a relationship, a marriage. Is that right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And you were sharing your story in the session, at the Win with Women session already, like how that like guided you to this place where now you're supporting people in transitioning. Because I saw your Instagram, it says life transitioning and relationship transitioning coaching, right? So that's
I know,
beautiful.
it's like a weird title, but yeah, life and relationship transition coach.
Life and relationship transition coach. So you guys, we're gonna get into it. But you guys can follow her on Instagram, and I'm laughing because I love the videos that I've been seeing. Like, and here's the thing, when you start to feel really good about yourself, I mean, like more free inside, you have the space to be silly and funny and creative and authentic. Loving it. I just had to mention that. But
thank you for saying that. That's so funny, because I totally know what you're referring to. I think when we met 2 years ago, my Instagram feed was authentic to me at the time, but it was very curated. A lot less vulnerability in terms of like my goofiness and silliness. I think I was learning to be vulnerable with my emotions and like those more difficult feelings to address like anger, sadness, grief. And so that's where I was at in my journey then. And I think now, you know, as you practice that over and over, it just becomes second nature. And my new, I guess, the new territory that I'm in right now, as far as what I'm able to express on my social media and beyond, is my humanity. So not just like the heavier weighted feelings that that draw a lot of people in, because you know those are kind of like, ooh, let's talk about grief, let's talk about divorce, let's talk about this and that.
Yes.
It's like, but can you watch me practice my guitar for the next 30 minutes while I have no idea what I'm doing? That that's how you build
that's like
relationships.
Yes, because I will tell you, when you see that, there's a relatability there. Like when you mess up or you're just like learning something new and you have no idea what you're doing, like there is a human connecting moment right then and there, and you're live too, you know? So
Yeah.
I relate so much with like what you choose to show or what you're willing to show, and how, and you see that like gravitates to people a lot, because there's a lot of fakeness out there, and it's refreshing for people to feel that they can relate to someone that they see on social media.
Yeah, and I think the more because what I do actually asks people to be more vulnerable and be more themselves and get in touch with who they are, I'm forced to practice what I preach. And because one of my, you know, one of the main lenses that I look at life through and the ways that I navigate is integrity, I really have to constantly check in. Like if I'm telling someone like, you know, just be you and like be whatever you want to be, and the right partner will come to you and the right job will come to you and the right friendships will come to you, but I'm not doing that myself, then why am I even preaching this all in the first place? And so I think just as much as I'm able to show up for people, it's how people are showing up to me that's inspiring too. And when you are, for me, I mean, I've been coaching for a little over, it's been almost 4 years now, I think. And you begin to hone your craft and look at what is lacking, and how you can bring out more of yourself within that. And what I found was, I mean, I'm super drawn to the bright and cheery and like, look at this person who has their life together. I'm drawn to like that aesthetically, but I would definitely not tell somebody like that I just spent the last month crying every day because I had gone through another breakup or divorce, or, you know. And so I think my approach to coaching has shifted into, instead of having it all together and always having the right thing to say, coming into a more grounded place for people to land. That's kind of been my approach to coaching, is like, let's take all of this beautiful, like love and light, you know, that we're all trying to draw in, and let's bring it to the ground and say, and also what that looks like is crying sometimes, and is like playing your guitar and not knowing what you're doing and going through breakups. Like, we're human.
I relate with that so much. Like, thank you for sharing that. And I feel like, yeah, that's like another level of coaching, and also your personal growth, and how when you step into a profession that is about helping people heal and navigate through their own pains, and being, you know, like, yeah, it's of course like the right thing, or like the healthy thing to say to a client is, yeah, it's about being authentic. And we have to look at ourselves too, which, yeah, as a coach, I relate with that 1,000%. And when I'm imperfect, and when I even share my weakest moments or my vulnerability, like I have that to bring into my coaching sessions, and the trust is even more there because they feel like you're literally there with them because you've been through it. So that's what's coming up for me too when I hear that.
Yeah, I love that. And I've seen you totally transform too. And, you know, and I think as coaches, we have to look at, also, I firmly believe that a real leader and a real teacher will point you back to yourself. And so I had used to have clients coming to me like, how are you so confident all the time? How do you
Yeah.
do this? How do you do that? And I actually got really uncomfortable in that because I felt that being more about like an idolization of someone who's literally just on their own journey. And so I've really tried to drive home that idea, not only for the relatability factor that you're talking about, but this idea that like, I'm not more than anyone else. You're not more than anyone else. Just because we're coaching people doesn't make us all knowing. It means that we're simply saying, hey, I've been where you've been, and I'm probably going to end up in other like shitty situations too. But like, this is how I practice self-love.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I practice emotional resilience and presence and gratitude and all these things. It's not because we know everything. It's because we're imperfect and we're figuring it out as well.
Mm-hmm. I love it that you keep on reusing the word practice because it's
Mm,
literally what self-love is to me. It is a daily practice. It is a lifestyle. It's not something that I only do once a month, like, oh, I haven't like practiced any self-love in a while, and it's that
mm,
commit because it's commitment. It's proof that you're showing up for yourself. So
mm.
with that said, I'm curious to know, like, when did you start coming across healing, personal growth? There's like that category of like self-love. People might identify self-love with different things, like, more of like the healing or
Mm,
like shadow work or
mm.
transformation, personal growth. And of course, I'm curious, and well, I kind of know, but for everyone else that's watching, what were those like painful moments that had to happen in order for the idea of getting better in ways that you've never done before? Like, what were those moments? So it's kind of like a mixture of a question of like, yeah, like, what were the events leading up to this
Mm.
world of self-love, healing, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I
getting on
got
that
you.
road for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, as you know, um, this is really interesting because I was actually I was thinking about like what love is. And
Mm.
this is something that I love love. I require a lot of love, actually. I've learned about myself, but my definition of love has definitely changed since the last time we talked. And I
Yeah.
think when we first talked, I my most painful moment at that time, which was my divorce that I went through, and the realization not of not being loved by someone, but of abandoning myself in an attempt to be loved. That
Oh
was,
yeah.
I think, the most painful recognition for me because I remember going to my therapist at the time of the separation and just having so much anger and resentment for my ex-husband and everything that went down and the toxicity of that relationship, but then asking her, I just don't want to be angry anymore, like it's exhausting, I'm exhausted. And she
Mm-hmm.
said, you're not going to be able to ever forgive anyone if you're not able to forgive yourself. And I was like, forgive myself? What did I do? What did I do to him? And
Mm.
she was like, it's not what you did to him, it's what you did to you. You
Oof.
chose that
Mic drop.
over. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I'm like
But
throwing down this mic. Um, you you
mm-hmm.
cho- you chose that over and over and over. You chose to walk down that aisle. You chose to not tell anybody what was going on. You chose to, you know, not speak up for yourself. I was so conscious of all the choices I was making and realizing that now I was like, that's why I couldn't forgive him. Um, and why I was holding on to
Mm.
the anger is because you can't give someone something you don't have yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when my journey through that began, is that recognition of personal responsibility and accountability for the way that my life was going, even though all I wanted to do was point the finger. Um, I do believe that there are situations where finger pointing is appropriate. And I think that in
Mm.
my case it was, but I also think that there's always two sides to things. And
Mm.
what
Mm-hmm.
I had to come to was taking a long, hard look in the mirror and saying, why don't you like yourself? Why don't you think you're worthy of being treated in a certain way that's more loving and kind? Why don't you, it really came down to me not loving myself enough and then choosing things and people in my life that reinforce that negative belief system that I had. And so it was like, oh, see, I'm not lovable. Everybody treats me like this, this, and that. And it's like, that's a whole rewiring thing that has to go on. But the first step was recognition of lack of love and security towards myself. And so when I got a divorce, I talked to you, I think probably like a year and a half or 2 years after that divorce. And I looked back today before our interview right now, and I was looking at my Instagram posts, and I'll often write about what love is. And I read one of my posts, and it's so fun to look back on these things. But what it was there's a lot of outward seeking, save me, verbiage that I was using. I longed so badly to be loved. And it was like this, love is coming to me when I'm tending to me when I'm being emotional. Love is holding me in these ways. Love is this, this, and that. And in my mind at that time of writing it, I was talking. Oh, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can still hear you. Oh yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Oh.
There we go.
Hello? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, weird. It's like repeating what I'm saying to you.
Oh, so it's echoing.
Yeah.
Huh. Let me take out my earpiece and see what happens. You hear me?
Yeah, let me connect and reconnect really quick again.
Okay. I can hear you just fine, girl. No?
I'm not. No. Can you take me off? Sorry, I'm confused. Can you take me off and then put me back on really quick?
Yes. Yeah. Let me.
Okay.
How do I do that? How do I get rid of you? I think you literally have to like get off. I don't know how to kick you off.
Okay, let me get off.
Just get off and then come back on. All right. That's a great little what is that people have in their shows? Like a pause, and then we come back together. So everyone that is watching, oh my gosh, I'm loving this experience with her because she is a coach as well. So like I'm finding so much relatability in her and the way that she was able to really, because on the self-love journey, like you're going along this path of healing. Okay, you're here. And then it's so important to go back and recall, and you're able to refine your process and realize what it really was that opened you up to the journey. Hello?
Sorry, yeah. It's working
Yes,
now.
we're good. Yay!
Yeah.
What is that part in plays where they have that pause?
The intermission.
And then, intermission. I was like, oh, intermission.
Deep breath.
Deep breath. Yes, welcome back.
Okay, so yeah, I was talking a lot about at that time in my life wanting to be saved and all this stuff, and since then I just recently wrote a post today on my Instagram, and it was very much all of those ways that I was wanting from someone else to feel loved are now how I love myself. Giving myself time to be emotional about things, coming to my own rescue, asking for support when I need it, and not just having people try and guess. All of these practices of like, I wish someone would treat me like this. I wish somebody, it's like, I can treat me like that. I'm totally capable. I know what that looks like. And so that's kind of, I don't know. I think that answered your question, a little bit of how the journey began and like where I'm at now.
I love it that I was just telling people before you got on that I'm loving connecting with you right now, because it's like 2 years later and there's so much growth, and I'm hearing you being able to go back and actually reflect on really what it was that led you on the self-love journey.
Yeah.
And we're able to refine our processes even more, right? Because we've been through it. There's a certain process that we went through to start and to really be consistent and all of that. So I love that you were able to recall the event with your therapist. And it was that moment where she told you, yeah, you can't forgive him because you haven't forgiven yourself. You're like, what do you mean? Like, I love that so much because we don't realize how we treated ourselves. We're so focused on how others have treated us, but we forget about, oh, there's us. And then, which is hard because we realize, wow, like I have not taken responsibility for myself and I completely abandoned myself. And that's a hard realization. And it can also change your life because now there's no turning back. The truth is out now. And you're like, wow, it's actually me. It's me. But I so want to blame it. It's so much easier to blame it on him. Can we just keep doing that? Yeah. And then you have the choice. Well, do you want to be happy? Why are you here? You're here to heal, right? Well, here you go.
Here you go. Go ahead and take your responsibility. It's a hard pill to swallow, but yeah, it's one that's definitely worth it. And I think can change like you said, it's life changing. It changed how I started showing up in the world because now I'm in the driver's seat. Now I'm not in the passenger seat anymore. Now I'm in the driver's seat and I'm saying, wait, who's in my car? Oh, you need to get out. You need to get out.
Space.
This is my car. I need to have these certain things. I need to check, like, is the car running okay? Is it being maintenance? Does it smell the way I want? Am I feeling safe? Is the seatbelt buckled? It became my duty to take care of my own journey. And anyone that wasn't in alignment with that and isn't in alignment with that, I had to be okay with saying, thank you, but I'm going to have to move forward without you now. And that is a whole different type of breakup or, I went through a divorce before, but I've been through breakups since then. And it's like, but how can you handle the ending of a relationship now with more personal responsibility and accountability and compassion and not saying that guy was just a stupid asshole? It's like, no, we're just on a different path right now. And this is not conducive to what I'm lining up to get ready to go towards. And the same for him.
Yeah, beautiful. Which will cause less pain for yourself to like take, right? It'll be less, I just envision this backpack, it's like less burden, less of that heavy stuff that we keep on collecting and putting in our backpacks, and then now we're walking around like this. So when we learn how to process and practice self-love and show for ourselves and take responsibility of our emotions, our overall health, we're able to use those tools when we need to. And I love the part that you talked about. What was it? It was something about being in the driver's seat. Oh, because I just posted something in my self-love group about when we watch that we crave something from somebody, literally what you just said, like those are the things that you're actually missing from yourself. And you kind of have like this information, this key with that awareness, like, oh yeah. And then what you were saying about love too, about love is being able to show up for yourself. Love is a practice that helps you heal. And so with that said, what are some of the like when you're in pain, when you're noticing like a pain or a trigger come up, like what is your go-to? Like where do you need to be right in that moment when that's there?
Well, I mean, I think it depends on the type of pain.
Right? If it's heavy, is it something like, you know what, I processed this already. It's not even, I can just
Typically, I guess the most typically I will say like what are you feeling? Like what is this? And like checking in, like I'm feeling grief, I'm feeling hurt, I'm feeling disappointed, I'm feeling, whatever words you're coming to, really like naming those things is super helpful. And then once you've like are in recognition of yourself in that way, then you say, okay, what do I need to, what does frustration need from me right now? Do I need to
Yes.
sit in my car and scream at the top of my lungs for 17 seconds? Okay, I'll do that. Do I need to work out a little bit harder and get my, endorphins or whatever going again? Okay, I need that. Do I need to be quiet and take a bath and light a candle and cry because frustration is it can feel really disempowering? Do I need to call a friend and say, hey, I need a love boost right now, can you remind me of all the ways that I am in my own power? Like, whatever it is that you need, it needs to start with the acknowledgement of the feeling, and then moving into, what does that feeling need from me right now? I feel like it's the way that I sort of come to it is I think of, now it's second nature. It's funny talking about it. Actually, it's not that
Right?
funny talking about it, but it's like, I talk about this to my clients, but like now putting me in that position.
Yes, yes. It's having
Yeah.
to like refine, okay, what is my process? But you do it so
Yeah.
instinctively. Yeah, no, I feel you on that, girl.
hmm
Yeah.
I used to
Mm-hmm.
not. I mean, I even had like a reminder that I framed, like, what do you, it's a self-love check-in that actually you would probably, like, but it's, what am I feeling right now? Naming the emotion. How do I show compassion for that emotion? Like, hey, you're
Beautiful.
frustrated right now. That's because you are going through a lot. That's because there's a freaking pandemic. That's because there's fires and you can't be outside. Like, that's because all of these things. Okay, compassion. Now the next step is, what do you need to show up for that emotion? And then all of those practices, those self-love practices come into play. And then at the end is, how can I sort of like solidify this experience with maybe like a affirmation? I love adding an affirmation at the end. I love writing things. I have like notes everywhere around my house, like a crazy person. But I love that stuff. And it's like, okay, the affirmation can be, and I'll just go with this whole frustration thing. Um,
Yeah.
I am allowed to feel frustrated because the world is in disarray. I am allowed to experience my emotions in whatever capacity I need. I am going to move past this as long as I'm in acknowledgement of myself. Like, whatever it is that you need to hear, say it, write it down, and put it on a sticky note. And then anytime you're re-triggered, because a trigger isn't just a one-time thing, it's a multiple thing that you have to work through, and an affirmation can really help.
Mm-hmm. I love that. You guys hear that? That was like a whole right? Like, yeah, and if we would like simplify, it's like the awareness and like the
Mm.
self-talk. And I call it like my inner home girl. Like, where is she? Like bring her out, please. Because,
Yes.
right? And that's when we want to talk to a friend or something because we need that back and forth. And we have the power of doing that. And you just demonstrated it here where it's like, okay, well, what do I need right now?
Mm.
And I love the identifying. That's what I have myself doing. And then with my clients, okay, well, what emotions are coming up? Let's just let it be known.
Mm. Yeah.
And let's let it be known. And I also see like when pain and triggers come, I'm also seeing like this like visual of your inner child wanting to come out. Like,
Wait, okay, that's where I was going with. Yeah, I got
yeah,
sidetracked. I love that you just said that, because I
we're on
feel
the same page.
we
We're on the
are. We're
same
on the same
page.
page.
Yes. Yes.
I'm like, obviously I get really passionate about this stuff, so I'm like, okay, this is what you got to do. This is what you got. But like, okay, bringing it back down, the inner
Yeah.
child, and speaking to yourself how you would a child is how I originally came to this practice.
Yeah.
Is like, if you've got a child sitting in front of you and they are irritated and frustrated and angry and all these things, I mean, you could just tell them to be quiet and go to their room
Right.
and not process their emotions, or you could be empathetic and compassionate and say, what's going on with you right now? Where's that
Yeah.
feel? How's that feel in your body? And then once
Right.
they say to you, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, then you say something like, well, that makes a lot of sense. You can't see all your friends right now. Everything's so confusing. The routine that you once had isn't intact anymore, and you're having to figure it all out. I'm frustrated too. It makes sense that you're frustrated. What do you need for me to support you right now? How can I help you work through whatever you're feeling? And giving that child what they need, and then saying,
Mm,
okay, let's remember this with an affirmation. just repeating, I am resilient, or whatever it is that you need. I literally had to picture myself as a child for a while in order to really like come into, that deep self-love and compassion.
Totally. Yeah. And it's a great visual because we might not be like, well, how do I be self-compassionate when we've been doing it for other people, right? And so we
Yeah.
kind of almost need to imagine someone else that is us, a little younger version, or just fine. Maybe it's not your inner child, but it's just a child,
Yeah. Yeah.
or imagining the person that you love and care about right in front of you, and that's how they're feeling. So
Mhm.
I love bringing that up. And so, yeah, like seeing the pain as like a hurt child, and it's actually your, like, realistically it's your inner child that's been hurt a million times, that never got to speak up, that never got to be heard, understood,
Mhm.
and given that nurturing, that emotional
Mhm.
support. And it's so empowering when you're able to do that for you. Yeah.
It is. And there are feelings
Yeah.
of guilt and shame, I think, that come along with if you
Oh yeah.
weren't, if you weren't, I don't want to badmouth anybody right now, but if you weren't raised in a home that had the emotional capacity or emotional maturity to sit down and say, like, hey, how are you processing everything that's going on in your life? You may feel a little bit guilty when you first start to come into that self-compassion and self-love of like, is this too much? Is what I'm feeling valid? Are these things normal? Am I
Mm-hmm.
being dramatic? All these things will come up. And that is the biggest wrestling point that I found was, okay, self-compassion, but also like hurry it up and get out of these feelings because like you might be too much to some people. And that's,
Mm.
don't stop there. Like lean into that and say, because now I'm at a point after leaning into it for so long and saying like, no, I require a lot of love. I require check-ins regularly because I'm that for people. I show up that for others, and I deserve
Yeah.
to be met where I am. And just because I wasn't trained to do that growing up does not mean that I'm invalid in my experience and needs. Like I need all those things and more. And I'm going to
Yeah.
continue to ask for it until I get it.
Yeah, I oh, see
Because
that
that's what it.
self dialogue is so powerful, you guys. It's so
Mhm.
powerful. Yeah, I really with that. So there are days where I had a lot of hours to myself, and I'm always like, yeah, self-checking with myself, especially if I'm feeling stress, or especially, yeah, you got to self-check with yourself
Mhm.
and make those adjustments. But I just remember there was a particular day that I had a little bit more hours than usual to myself, and I'm like, wow, like I'm good. And I saw how much love and space that I needed.
Mhm. Spending
And
that time
like,
alone.
yeah, and it was
Mhm.
so nice to do it with ease. Like I'm not rushing to meet a deadline or anything like that.
Mhm.
And I just love how you said, I require a lot of love. And I say that to myself too, like, wow, I require. And I remember making this post about like, we are high maintenance. There's so many parts of ourselves that has been neglected.
Mhm.
Like there's our bodies. I mean, you were just working out. There's our
Mhm.
bodies, but then I feel like
Mhm.
that's connected to your emotion. That can release some emotional stress, some mental stress too.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's things that you do that make you feel really like spiritually um, in tuned with yourself and who you are. And so just speaking about that. And then there's like, oh my God, and then we have our financial life. So there's just, we require a lot of care, y'all. Like we require a lot of love, and we get to give
Mhm.
that to ourselves because the
Mhm.
result is you're happy. The result is
Mhm.
you're less like hot tempered, you know, and you have so much
Mhm.
more space to be present and loving and
Mhm. Yeah,
you know.
it's like I actually used to take pride for near like much of my life. I used to take pride in being the low maintenance cool girl, and like
Ah,
I'm super chill. I have very little demands. I can, I'm the cool girl. Like you don't need to. I don't require a lot. And I used to like try so hard to hold in any like emotional heaviness. I don't even like the word heaviness, used to try so hard to do that. And eventually it would always come out, and I would always, it would
Right.
always be like explosive, or just like holding it in for too long. And it's like, now in recognition and in pure love for myself, like, I am the cool girl and I require a lot of love. And the reason why I can ask for that now is because I give that to myself. And so if you're not going to even treat me as good as, I mean, no, if you're not going to treat me, nobody can treat me as good as I treat me.
Yeah.
But, but I think, like, now that I know what that feels like, and I know how to attend to myself in those ways, it's much easier to ask for that, because it's like, here, look, I'm showing you through the example that I'm showing myself, and I will give that to you because I know how to give that and I know how to receive that, and I'm just asking to be met where I am. And that's the whole shift.
My gosh, hear that 1,000%. And so like where I want to get into conversation is with the self-love journey and all the practice that you do for yourself. I mean, yes, I mean, you're finding yourself in business for yourself, working for yourself and being in your power. Where do you feel like you are, like, how would I say it? Like, I love how you kind of started off in the beginning where you said, what did you say? Like, in this place that you are right now, or you said you're something about like where you are right now, you are finding yourself on another level of transparency and authenticity. And so like where do you see that could be like next for you to work with personally for yourself or even in business? Because I know that when we continue to create that space for ourselves, like ideas come and we can see where our next level of healing is, or our next level of growing in creating something that we love is. So what would that be for you? What's coming up with that?
You know, the word that comes out, that's coming up to mind right now is value and availability. And so value, because what I'm creating in my life and in my business is, again, you know, I said earlier, integrity is just a big cornerstone to my business. And so I'm always asking myself, is this in your integrity? Is this, you know, what is this coming from? And it's really easy when you are a creative person who is creating your own business to sort of model a lot of the things that you do off of what other people are doing, because you know, we're all learning and we're all like figuring it out, and we like to think that someone else's model might work for us. And what I found is that's not for it in the stage that I'm at in my life right now. That's not my deepest integrity. And so really like getting into what is it that is of most value to my clients, to the world, and to myself, and how can I amplify that as a service, instead of it looking like a needing to make, you know, money, which I need to make money, we all do, but like instead of it just being focused around that and price, have it being focused around value, is a whole new level. And I think also with relationships that can look the same way. You know, what is it? What are my values? What in essence am I bringing to life as I wake up each day and as I interact with the world, and amplifying that and checking in, like, if this is what I'm bringing to the world, like, where's that coming from? Is that coming from my deepest integrity?
Right.
So value in that way. I hope that makes sense. And then
Totally.
okay. And then availability is the other word that comes to mind that has really shown up for me recently, as far as like relationships go. I think as a coach, I help people draw in what is it that they want for their lives, as far as like for themselves and in partnership. And I've looked at and talked to someone recently who let me know that there's like 4 layers to love. And one is like that checklist that we have, like so and so needs to be living this close to me, they need to have this much education, they need to maybe like look this certain way. You can have whatever like checklist you want, long or short. It doesn't even matter how the list, it's up to you. Then you go into character traits. How does this person interact with the world? Like, are they kind? Do they make me laugh? Is there some charisma there? Like, whatever character traits you want. Moving deeper is the value system that I just kind of talked about. Like, what does this person value? Do they value integrity like myself? Are they, do they value meaningful work? Like, what are the value systems that they're working off of? And then the fourth layer is what really screws people up. It's availability. Is this person available to give me the reciprocity and the energetic exchange that I want to give? Do I want relationship? Is that person available to give me that in return? And you can have like literally the most perfect person standing in front of you and all the checklists and the character traits and the values match up, but like they might be on a different part of their journey and not be available for whatever reason. And it's when you have such a deep love and compassion to yourself, it's easy to look at someone else and say, I have deep love and compassion for your journey too, and I'm not going to take this personally. I realize that you're not available for what I need right now, and I'm, not available for what you need or whatever that may be. And so availability within relationships and availability for yourself too, and checking in, like, am I available for what it is that I'm calling in? And I could go off on a tangent there, but does that make sense?
No. You are so on a roll, because what comes up to my mind is like, there's so many, I love this world because there's so many ways to say the same thing. And so as I'm listening to you, I'm like right there with you. And the availability is the space that they have, and I love how you said they might have some of the, like all this checklists and stuff like that. But like, if they don't have space for me emotionally, for an example, I know that's a big one that we need to feel the relationship to really feel that connection for it to be fulfilling. Like, they need to know how to create the space for themselves to be present with your loved ones, or else they won't work, because we all have stress. We all have things that we might come across during the day, and it triggers us from our childhood or something like that. But if we do not, or we're not in the practice of like creating space and healing, how can someone have the space or the availability to be in a relationship? So that's just all coming to my mind right now, where like it's the emotional availability, it's the emotional space, even like mental space. So
all of it, emotional, mental, financial, physical, like, like, it's how available are you for what it is from the other person, but also like how available am I making myself for what I'm calling in? And I could
too. That is responsibility right there. Like, you want to call in this relationship and stuff, but do you even have space to be present and really accept this person and all of that? Because there's going to be arguments, you're going to realize, I have it now, feels so good, but you're like, wait a minute, I actually have a lot going on in my life right now.
Yeah.
I think I have space for them.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, clearing your space and figuring out what needs to go in order for me to create like a soft landing place for people, or for the relationships and career and all these, the finances, like everything that I want. I've got to like create space and availability within myself as well. And it works both ways. And it's literally, I love the idea of availability because it's no one's fault. Because we've all not been available for things at times in our lives, and we will continue to be. And so it's like honoring that somebody is just on their own journey and we are on our own journeys, and to just let each other own those parts of ourselves, instead of casting blame, and just showing those parts more love. It's like, oh, okay, that's just where so-and-so is at. That's just where I'm at. Like right now, especially with everything going on in the world, it's like we have to ask ourselves, like, are the things that I'm wanting for my life, do they have a place to go?
I like that.
Yeah.
Am I just going to like receive it and then like push it away and kind of like oh my gosh, there's so much love going on I don't know if you can see the comments, but
I can't. What do they say?
I'll go backwards.
Okay.
I think some of them are people on your side too.
Oh.
Miguel
Mm.
Jimenez says, "Gotta ground yourself as well. This topic is awesome. Thank you. You're welcome."
Mm.
Michelle Harris says, "Aloha, beautiful ladies. Hello." Brandon says, "It's much easier to recognize emotional abuse when you practice self-love." Oh yeah, when you practice self-love, I mean, self-love wouldn't even exist if you weren't even aware, So it
Hmm.
definitely broadens your awareness.
For sure. I think like
Uh,
we can emotionally abuse ourselves. That's the opposite of self-love is
oh
self-abuse.
yeah,
And it's like, that's real. Yeah.
that is. Mm-hmm. Pa, who I interviewed last week, she said, "Inner home girl, love that." She also said, love the compassion, show up for that emotion. That is
Hmm.
kindness to yourself right there, people. Yeah.
Hmm.
Rana Lee, I think she's
Oh
on your
yeah,
side.
Ronally. Hmm.
Hardest thing ever, forgiving myself. Yes. If you guys are questioning, what do you mean forgive myself? Yes, you have abandoned yourself. Woo!
Yeah.
Hard one, hard one.
So
And
hard.
Brandon, he comes to this meditation group that I help facilitate, and he
Hmm.
always repeats this passage. So I'm going to read it.
Oh, yay. Okay.
It says, if you can learn to forgive yourself, you can learn to forgive others. If you can learn to forgive others, you can learn to forgive everybody. If you can learn to forgive everybody, you can learn to forgive yourself. If you can learn to accept yourself, you can learn to accept others. If you can learn to
Hmm.
accept others, you can learn to accept everybody. If you can learn to accept
Hmm.
everybody, you can learn to accept yourself. I know it's just like a full circle thing. It's so
Hmm.
nice, Brandon. I'm feeling it right here.
Hmm.
If you can learn to love yourself, you can learn to love others. If you can learn to love others, you can learn to love everybody. If you can learn to love everybody, you can learn to love yourself. Mm.
Hmm. So the forgiveness leading to a widespread forgiveness leading to self-acceptance and widespread acceptance leading to self-love and widespread love. And then we're all just
Mm-hmm.
kumbayaing together and it's just
Exactly.
wonderful.
The blueprint, y'all. Thank you, Brandon.
I
Why are
love
we even
it.
talking? Brandon, where are you? No, I'm just kidding.
Where are you at?
Where are you at? And then Ashley, I think she's on your side. She says, "Love
Mm.
you, Ashley Donka Mend
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, she says, "Love you." And then Jeff Hunter says, "Beautiful people, inside and out. Thanks."
How do I see this?
I know,
These
right?
comments.
I guess if you would have to, if you have your laptop, then you can just go on it and click on comments and you can see it. I
Oh,
know.
cool.
It's
Okay.
not. I wish the other side can see the comments. Like, if you
Hmm.
swipe right or left, can you see anything? No, huh?
On my phone?
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin it.
Oh, I
No,
don't want you to.
I'm just gonna
Never mind.
keep.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it.
Mm.
Oh, and then Shen observing. Yeah, hi. Oh, and Miguel says,
Mm.
"I'm finally learning about my chakras. I've been missing out. LOL." I am telling you guys, there is so much awesome information out there that
Mm.
it's for you because you're curious about it and you're like, and it feels fulfilling to learn that. And especially when you're applying it and then you'll see the transformation in your life from applying the information that you've learned.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I wish I could
I
see.
know. I know.
Hi, Miguel and Ashley and Ronally. I know you all, and hi, everybody that I don't know.
Yes. Oh yeah. So
Um,
where can people connect with you, girl? I mean, you've been just so lovely. I'm sure some
mm,
of you guys want to keep in touch and follow another great uh influencer of self-love and being kind to yourself and all of that. So where can people stalk you? Where can people not stalk, just kidding. No, connect. Where can people connect with you?
people can stalk slash connect with me on, I mean, on, Facebook, Instagram, Leah E. Morris, but also I just, it's funny that we're getting on this live right now because I just launched a membership website or a membership
Oh my,
page. So it's like
woo!
you can join or cancel at any time. So it's not like a membership coaching thing that you have to sign up for a long
Love
period
it.
of time or anything. And it's super affordable, but it's a way for me to connect with people um, in
Mm-hmm.
a more intimate setting. Again, with the whole value driven thing, like that's how I provide most values when I'm talking one on one with people or in like more intimate settings. Talking to the masses isn't necessarily like my jam, although I do love the idea of that. I just have, I feel so much deeper connectivity, and I get more out of it when I'm talking to less people.
And vice versa, they're getting more out of it
Yeah.
when I relate with you 1,000%. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we look at people, we see the people on stage, or we see people reaching the masses, and that is great. That is great. And there's just something about having enough space and like availability to
Mm-hmm.
people. And in my experience, that's when you really get to see transformation and build that deep connection. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a worth it experience
Mm-hmm.
for your
Definitely.
time, other people's time. Gosh, there's so many things that you said that I loved, especially the value part
Mm-hmm.
with like not being so fast and copying somebody else's model,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because how does that feel with you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And especially when you're in business for yourself, like what would that look like if you were saying yes to somebody else's model, but then you're not feeling good about it, and then you're moving
Mm-hmm.
forward with it, and then now that energy is being projected onto your client, and you might not even know it.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that value and availability came up for you as far as like
Yeah.
what is it that you're focused on and what's next. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I came to those things because the one of the hardest things that I think we're all having to do is pause. And I know that when things are going crazy, there's a tendency to start thrashing and, sort of just treading water, and you're wasting a lot of energy and you're not going anywhere. And so my biggest practice, and I think it is a self-love practice too, is to wait and to actually feel, to collect information, the research and development, but don't do to just do. To
Mm-hmm.
have the poise and patience and trust to wait and remain in your integrity, not water that down and just get exhausted and burnt out. So,
Yeah. You guys, these are all healthy practices that you can take. Anything that was mentioned here, I am confident to say you will see something transform out of your life from picking one healthy practice and taking that with you to the point where it's automatic. And then you're going to open up more space for other healthier practices. I mean, that's the result of
mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm,
applying a healthy practice, because you get to add in more and you see that it's helping.
mm-hmm,
So I know that we can talk on forever because girl, it's been an
mm-hmm.
hour.
Oh my God.
Is that crazy? Well, maybe less than an hour because we had to go on again, but you
Oh
can see
yeah,
how time just slide by, and I'm just
I
laughing
know.
because I noticed it was sunlight. Now it's dark on both of our
Now it's
screens.
dark. Yeah.
I turned on my light. I was like, oh yeah. But I don't want to hold you on for too long, but I loved hearing from you and where you are. I thank you enough, and I
Mm,
relate with you so much. So I appreciate
mm.
this like catch up, and it's so kind of cool to see because 2 years ago we were both at different places. We were both on the journey, and then here we are
Where are we
refining
gonna go
and
from
next
here?
levels and
Like, I don't know how much more I can love myself.
well, see, girl, that's why you're refining your services and your
Yeah.
value and refining yourself and the availability part. And
Mm-hmm.
because guess what, you guys, we're not going to attract authenticity if we're
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
living in an authentic way,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know? So, you guys connect with Leah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Quinn. It's been
And
so
thank you
much
for
fun.
providing, yeah, thank you for providing value, your story, and all the healthy practices that you personally apply.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you know,
Cyber hug.
yay. Yes, I've heard. Yes. All right, you
All
guys,
right.
we're gonna call it a night. Thank you all for joining. If you have any questions, if you're watching the replay, please go ahead and please feel free to share this out if you found that it was valuable and you feel that someone in your community can use it. And until then, we will see you guys, and I'll be back here next week with a new face, different
Yeah.
story. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Love you.
All right,
And
dude.
and and everybody, thank you for loving me. I require a lot of that. So.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.